Okay, so carrying on, now what we're doing is we're basically looking for flaws in the inking. Little gaps like this right here aren't going to matter, but that's probably okay. Yeah. Okay. So is that where? Okay, our blanket is not. We better turn our blanket on. So what I want to do here is let's just go ahead and erase into this. We're still in behind mode. And I think we can safely fill that in. Okay, so this right here is obviously a problem. And so we're going to have to, this is actually where, well, actually, strike that. I forgot that Akari's going to be getting busy on it here. So, yeah, so actually that suggests that her hands are doing whatever it is her hands are going to do. So that's cool. So at this point, Zen's body, what we need to do here is simply erase the blanket, since it's going to be showing up in the layer underneath. There you go. Okay, so here, okay, I see what's going on. It looks to me like I made a bit of a boo-boo by filling in his body in the head layer, but you know what? The world will keep turning. So let's just check. Let's see how things change if the head layer's on top. It's one of those crapshoot situations. Any way you slice it, we have to do some tweaks. So what I would say is let's go to the body here and just do some erasing. That's the simplest path forward. Let's just reveal the stuff that's good and not worry about the stuff that's bad. So here, yeah, I'm going to say let's go out of erase mode and just do this. So this again is where Krita kind of excels, is just the ability to quickly patch and fix things. Okay, that's not like the greatest drawing ever, but at the same time, it's only going to be lasting on the frame on the screen for literally 2 frames. So we got a little issue here. Sorry, that needs to be in erase mode. Okay, and I would say right here we need to look at his head and yeah, right here. Let's just erase. Hello, we're supposed to be in erase mode. Yeah, just clean that up. Little bit of a fix here. It looks like that's actually in the body layer. So how big of a win was it to go ahead and keep the head and his body in separate layers? I don't really know for sure. But now I'm just going to go through and do a little touch up. Little bit of ink touch up. Mm-hmm. And again, you know, the fact that I'm doing it on a different layer than the, you know, what I'm doing right now on the blanket layer is not actually on the blanket layer. And basically, I don't care. Okay. I'm just going to keep... I'm introducing a little bit of chatter here, but I think we're okay because... And by chatter, I mean, since I'm redrawing things, it's going to tend to wiggle a little bit. But and so you can see it right there, but at the same time, come on. I mean, it's 2 frames. Let's go ahead and fire everything up. And just see what we have at this point. Because I think we, other than Zen Shadows, I think we're pretty close to done here. Okay. So obviously the background doesn't go on long enough. I don't even know why we have a second key, frankly. I'm just going to remove that keyframe. Yeah, there you go. Alright, so I can live with that. What do you think? Okay, so what do we need to do? Well, we need to go into the blanket. I suppose one question now becomes: do we want to deal with shadows on a layer by layer basis, or do we want to, just have a single shadow layer and just let everything sort of merge together? And I didn't mean to turn that off. What I wanted to do was go back here and, importantly, let's sample the blanket shadow color. Okay? So now we're going to have to come in here, and I think the best way to do this is going to be normal mode and just being careful. Okay, so stop. We need to turn this filter off because that filter is corrupting the colors that we sample. So what happens is I sampled the color and the color is darker because of the filter. I paint in some shadows and now it's even darker because the filter is still being applied to the even darker color. So generally when you're dealing with things like shadows and whatnot, you definitely want to turn filters, color filters off. Okay, so... And I'm gonna try. Let's first of all, let's see what happens. Okay, overlay mode definitely won't work, but I'm wondering if maybe multiply would be good. No, it's still, that's too dark. Let's just stick with normal. I've always kind of thought it just seems like there's a missing blending mode. You know, no big deal. Okay, so obviously we're losing a little bit of our highlights, but I guess all in all, I would say this is probably a bad idea. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a shadow layer. What I'm not going to do, and I'm going to basically alright, so let's insert a key in the layer, insert, and now what we're going to do is let's skip ahead to here, and here we need to go ahead and put in those shadows. Alright, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through, insert. The danger here, there's actually a kind of a important thing to be aware of, which is once he gets around to this pose, we're going to want to lock it so that the shadows don't chatter. So let's just go ahead. That was a little bit aggressive, I would say. Okay, that's probably fine. Okay, we'll kind of put his tummy in shadow. And so basically what we're going to do is, excuse me, sorry, we're going to go ahead and put a standard type shadow layer, and then we'll just bake it down by hitting Control E. Alright, and now I'm going to erase back into that. Okay, here it would appear that a little bit of erasing is in order. Okay, just a little bit. And I'll just call this SHD for shadow. You could also argue that SHD stands for shade. Okay. Here, we want to get out of erase mode. Alright, 99. Okay, let's color it all in. Just sort of create a zone here. We want to keep it on the simple side. Simple, simple, simple. Okay, so now because we're doing it as a shadow layer, we can touch this up, and I'll go ahead and turn on lock to alpha, just so that's just one less thing to have to think about, right? And as you can see, those shadows can come over top of Akari as well, which is perfect. So toggle back, slate. Okay, one thing I do want to do is, I probably should turn this guy off just so we're making these shadows more accurate. But yeah, he needs to have a little bit of shadow action going on here as well. Okay, there's a problem. Oh, come on, really? So we have a baked in shadow. That's going to be a little bit of a problem, isn't it? Can we fix that surgically? I mean, we probably can. Is the viewer going to notice? That's a tough one. That's a tough one right there. We'll give it a crack. I think we're okay. I think we're okay. Okay. We'll just give that a little delineation. A little bit here. Again, boom. Okay. So now, I think we'll go. Well, let's just do insert. Let's redo it. It's one of those iffy ones. Sometimes, you know, there's a bit of a dance that we dance. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a crack. What happens if we do this? Oops. I think that looks alright, actually. Not bad. Okay, and then we got to get Zen's back again. We'll go ahead and give him a little bit more shadow definition right there. A little bit of erasing back into it. Okay. Alright, so now I guess there's a little thing here. Alright, so let's shadow that. Yeah, he's going to obviously have some this hand action in shadow. Right there we need to sort of put in a faux outline. Okay. So there, Akari did this. So I would say here we want to go. Yeah. So we're going to copy that one, because really the only thing we need to change is this part. Obviously there's a little bit of touching up on Zen that would be suggested, but we'll get around to all that. Trust me. Okay. Okay. Again, Control Insert. And a little bit of erasing. Little bit of erasing. Like that. And I believe there's one more. Yes. Control Insert. And it's kind of the same situation here. We need to do a little erasing. And allow the natural contours that are suggesting certain kinds of action. Namely, Akari getting a grip, if you will, on the blankie. Insert. This one's got to be done. Beginning to end. Boom. I don't like that. That's too much detail. Okay. Basically, this should all be in shadow, really. Let's see what happens if we allow Akari to be sort of get an additional shadow. I frankly don't like it. I don't think we need that there. So, well, this is the trade-off. Whenever you break the shot into layers in order ostensibly to save time downstream by repeating frames, you also, it's just always a tug of war. You introduce more work in other ways, and it is generally a bit of a debate whether you've actually saved much time by breaking things up into more layers, because it does complicate things too, which sort of inherently slows you down here and there. Boom. Boom. And I don't like the fact that... Yeah, and we don't want to be duplicating that. Forget it. ZZ. We're going to do that. We need to do it in the Zen head layer. Okay, that feels pretty good. Boom. Right there. Insert. Now let's just go ahead and insert the necessary frames to finish it up so that we can then bake her down. Bake it down, people. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. Okay, let's go back here so we can sort of get our continuity between our shots. So this is kind of an interesting state of affairs because obviously the shadow situation has changed since his hands aren't up there. So the question then becomes, well, how much of that shadow was actually because of his hands being up all in there versus not. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and allow this shadow to sort of prevail a bit. Don't really want to knock myself out doing a bunch of shadowing on his hand. I think that's probably overkill. Overkill, I say. Okay. It's only overkill. Who did that? Men at Work. Day after day it reappears. Night after night, the fear. Ghosts appear and fade away. Yep, Men at Work. I'm thinking 1983. Or thereabouts. Thereabouts. Something like that. I can't get to sleep. I think about the implications of diving into deep. And possibly the complications, especially at night. I think about a situation that I'm feeling right. It's just overkill. And day after day it reappears. Yeah, remember that? I'm betting you don't. I am betting you don't remember that. I don't know how old you are, but I am gonna bet. So this is where it gets a little complicated because we are excusing the fact that there's gonna be a little bit of chatter, and we're sort of presuming that that would be okay, even arguably normal, because the guy is kind of sort of in front of her, which suggests that he is casting some of the shadows, which is kind of what I was talking about a minute ago. And so therefore, we would actually expect a little bit of chatter. Little bit of chatter in our shadows. Yes. Okay, that I don't like. That's too much. Too much variation. Okay, so here I tell you, Zen, the dude is buff. There is no doubt about it. He is one buff fella. Buff, I say. How buff is he? He's buff enough. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm talking about. Buff enough. Okay. Bring this around here and just pretend that's going to be a shadow situation. Let's go ahead and let Zen show his stuff. Boom. Maybe a slight bit here. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to duplicate the shadow layer and turn that off. And then I'm going to just bake this down to make sure everything turned out okay. And we do have one rogue frame right there. Okay, so I'm going to hit Z and Z. So now the shadow layer is alive again. We still have the copy. And I want to come back here and find our rogue. Our rogue keyframe. Whoa, stop. Okay. How is that possible? Hold on a second. Oh, I see. Duh. Right, of course. My bad. It's just the holdover from the previous frame. So what we're actually needing to do is put in a key here. Sorry. Now let's, just for kicks and giggles, let's make sure all the other keys are okay. Kinda, sorta, except this right here. I don't want to cover Akari's shadow. So let's put in a border there, so to speak. And then what we're going to do is we're going to really try to follow this closely so that we don't introduce too much new chatter. Okay, that'll be alright. Ghosts appear and fade away. Come back another day. Wah, 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 wah. They had a lot of saxophone in their music. Men at Work did. Boom. Okay, where's the rogue? Ah, there's the rogue frame. So let's go back here. Oh, I see what the problem is. I'm being stupid. It just started in the wrong place. Yeah, what the heck? I think it's okay. I think it's okay. We'll turn on the filter. We're going to get rid of the shadow copy. We have to, actually no. Let's not get rid of the shadow copy. But now we have to bake the shadow down. Otherwise we'll lose the darn it. Ah. Okay. Getting a little frustrated here because why did the shadow layer not bake down through here? You see what I'm saying? So in other words, when I bake this down, it looks fine while it's on a separate layer. But so I'm going to save my work, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these two, and I think the best solution here is to group them. I don't know why I didn't think of that before. Problem solved. Okay, because when you group layers, they act as their own independent compositing situation. And so what that does is it allows us now to turn the background back on, and the inherit, I was looking for the word inherit. The inherit alpha effect remains in force. Okay, so let's just look here. Is this? Yes, there's our guy. Wondered where my guy was. Okay, so now one thing that's got me a little befuddled here is our background image seems to have just like disappeared. So my assumption would be that at some point I inadvertently deleted it and just didn't realize it, so it's not that big of a deal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go here in another window to my folder full of backgrounds, and golly, I thought I had Blender open with the edit. So I need to open Blender, look at the edit, look at the background image, make sure we get the right one, and I mean I can kind of sort of guess, but what we want is this image, and we'll change the orientation of it a little bitty bit. So again, save early, save often. I'm going to take this picture right here and drag it in, insert it as a new layer, and there it is. Okay, so now I'm going to, gosh, let's make it a little bigger. Let's add a filter mask that's going to be a blur. Let's just go with the basic Gaussian blur type situation. Okay, yeah. I want the background to be slightly out of focus because I don't know why. I'm just doing shallow focus on this shot. What can I say? Tis what it is. Alright, so now I'm going to move this down to the bottom for obvious reasons. It looks like the filter mask did travel with it, which is what we wanted. And save our work. So now, interesting, yeah, it's only 250 megabytes. It's not even like that it's that big of a file we're dealing with here, but anyway, let's regenerate the cache. Obviously there's a lot of Gaussian blur that it has to deal with, and inexplicably, as you can see, we still have the shadow issue here, but at least meh, this is on the It's tempting to just put a shadow layer on the blanket, frankly. But no, I'll torture myself. I'll torture myself and go ahead and just keep doing what I'm doing. So, shadow layer, but before we go too much further, let's kill the filter mask. Let's kill the background, and let's kill the guy in the foreground. Just because, you know, why deal with all kinds of extra stuff? Okay, and by the way, I'm gonna do what I said. I'm gonna go to the blanket layer, and I'm gonna go inherit alpha, and I'm gonna grab these two, and I'm gonna group them so that I can actually do the exact same thing here with the blanket. What I'm gonna do is insert a key here, which B. Okay, let's make this big. Okay. Okay, that way we can just introduce a shadow, and frankly, that's it. That's the whole thing. You know, one key. So, gee, that was a little easier than all the other stupid ways I might have done it. So, and that's it. I do believe we do need to turn on the filter, the darkening. And I do see one more problem. Yes. Yes, and that's just an oversight on my part. I'm going to go here in the shadow layer, and I forgot to put shadows around Zen's face, basically. Okay, what's going on? I want to save my work because something strange is happening right now. Shadow layer. So to keep things simple, I'm going to turn off the background, and I'm going to turn off the foreground. And in the shadow layer, I'm going to go ahead and erase. Okay, so the erasing seems to be working. It's in normal mode. Ah, there's your problem. My bad. Okay, we need to put this in the group. Yes, that was the whole problem. I am a silly goose. Aren't I? Yes, yes, you are a silly goose. Sorry. Wrong layer. Alright. Okay, things are starting to make sense around here. That explains why these shadows disappeared. Okay, sure, you're going to be silly. I'm going to grab this, put it there, grab this, and hit remove. And now, okay, so that way I can go ahead and tighten this up, go to the next key, and it turns out the hair shadows are in fact there. What I do need to do is go back to Zen's head, turn off this filter that's going to corrupt my colors, and in behind mode, just go like that. Remember, behind mode protects us from ourselves, so we can't inadvertently paint over what was painted earlier. And that way I can fix all those little tiny flaws. Like, ooh, that was not good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn the background on in order to, and actually I'm going to turn on the filter. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. Sorry about this, folks. I'm kind of processing a lot of information quickly right now about kind of what's going on in my animation. Like a minute ago, I just turned on that filter mask and it didn't get darker. So I was kind of wondering what the heck's going on there. I think I maybe darkened it a little too much. So anytime you have a filter mask, the good thing about a filter mask is it's non-destructive. You're not actually changing the underlying art at all. You're just adding a filter over top of it. And by hitting the F3 key, you can go in and tweak the parameters of that filter anytime you want, which is cool. Alright, so for example, right here, this is the kind of thing I want to just address here really quickly. I'm going to go into erase mode, and Apparently that's on the head layer. Yeah, that's on the Zen head layer, which does have a key, so I should be able to just go like this. And as you can see, part of it did not erase, which tells me that part of that was on the head layer, part of it was on the body layer, so no big deal. I'm going to go into the body layer. You know, it's good to just take a few minutes and just do the last minute touch-ups. Okay, in the Zen's head layer. Okay, so there I just turned the filter off, but it didn't update. Well, that's because the animation isn't cached. So what I'm going to do is just play the animation, and now that it's cached, I should be able to jump up here. And what was it I was seeing? I see a couple things actually. Right here, you know, this is where, I mean, I don't want to say it's where the rubber meets the road or that sort of thing, but it kind of is. And I frankly haven't been the most meticulous about this sort of stuff in the past, so I'm trying to do a better job of really being picky about these sorts of things. I mean, you know what I mean? Let's clean it up. Let's get it right. All right, and then I believe the next frame had a little bit of weirdness as well. Not too bad. Right here, I'm finding that slightly objectionable. And let's sample that color. Go back out of erase mode. And, oh, come on. I said go out of erase mode and just fill that in. Oops. Okay. Okay. Turn the filter back on. Save, and I actually think the shot is done. I'm not sure, but I think it is. Okay, that's fine. We're going to live with it. So, File. And actually, you know what? There's one more thing I want to do. By gum, I'm going to do something here. Just because I can. I'm going to go all the way to the back, or to the top, I should say. Let me see. What I want to do is backlight these guys just a little bit. Only because when I squint, I'm not seeing I'm not seeing the edges like I want to. Okay? This again is kind of one of those things that you can try to increase the production value just a little bit. Okay, so right here we would have a key. Okay, why is it not taking it? Thank you. So those of you who are actually kind of rooting for me out there are probably happy right now that I'm doing this. It's like, good, Dave, finally you're raising your standards a bit. Yeah. You know, get it right, man. I'm with you, folks. I'm with you. Okay, ooh. That shot is almost, I'm going to hit Control Insert. Just do a little erase right there. Ah, that's pretty good. Alright, let's go to the next. Hit Insert. And you know, this is really not based on any sort of idea that there's an actual backlight, because frankly there's not. This shot is lit from the front, actually. And we can try something with that here in a minute, which might be kind of fun. In fact, I think I will. I'm just kind of curious, just to challenge myself a little bit. I'm going to try something. You'll see what it is shortly. but it's going to basically be a filter and a bit of a bloom, an airbrushed bloom. This is something I've done in filmmaking a few times. You can actually take a shot that you shoot on a location, right, with your actors or whatever, and you can add a layer in overlay mode that will you can almost literally change the direction of the lighting. You can almost literally change the direction completely. Okay, so here's a group. Mr. Bad Guy. Don't want to do that. Hit escape. Alright, so what I'm wanting to do right now is, let me confirm. Okay, that's only Zen. The blankets in between, they're all in a common group. So what I think is suggested here, if I put the let's see, is the filter mask is not affecting the background. So what I'm having to do is think about how things are layered up here. It's a bit complex. What really I think needs to happen is this. Let's save our work, because this could go horribly wrong. What I'm going to try to do is take these layers and just contain them in a separate group. Okay? And the reason I did that is so I can go here and add another layer. Now this layer is going to be in overlay mode. You could do soft light too, it doesn't matter. They're kind of the same. I'm going to use my airbrush, and what I'm going to do is I am going to simply go like this. Okay, now I'm gonna oh, I see what I did wrong. That's okay, that doesn't matter. This will make sense in a minute. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take that layer and put that layer in overlay mode. Now let's turn it off and on. Okay. Not horrible in principle, but kind of ugly in practice. So let's do this. Let's hit insert, which effectively should create a brand new, new keyframe. So what I want to do is make my airbrush smaller. And let's not do overlay. Let's do screen mode. Screen mode's not going to work. Back to overlay. Okay, so what I think is going wrong here is I think this needs to be up above everything. Yes. Because it's sort of battling the filter. You know, the filter is serving its purpose. And by the way, as good a chance as not, I'm going to throw this layer away. Okay. But what I'm trying to do is just see if this is something that can raise my production value slightly. Now, what it appears to me is over top of my ninja guy, it looks really good. I like it. On these guys, not so much. So there we go. We're going to call this, I'm just going to call it overlay, because for me, normally if I use overlay mode, it's because I'm trying to add artificial lighting of some kind. So yeah, just a little bit, and actually I don't feel I quite erased it as well as I should. Let's see what happens if we add black. Interesting. If you really want to be careful with overlay mode, what you use is gray, because if you use a perfectly middle gray, there is effectively no change. Now, because this isn't a perfect gray, it does change a little bit, but you can see what's going on. So now if we go ahead and let Mr. Ninja Guy be highlighted. And then I'm just going to put a little bit here. I don't feel like that's helping. So I'm going to go back to this. And what was helping was just a slight darkening. Boom, boom. Okay, let's play that back and see how it plays. I may go ahead and take all the overlay that's on top of Zen and Akari and just erase it. See, and the good thing about overlay mode, as you can see, is because it effectively functions as a light source, if the characters move underneath it, it doesn't matter. It still looks fine. Okay, so middle gray. I guess as long as we're here, why not give him a bit of a vignette? Why the heck not? I'm feeling frisky. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually hit the eraser, make this real big, and just erase. For the most part, I don't really want the effect on the two of them. I just want it on Mr. Ninja, and I don't mind the vignette. So, as you can see, just gives us a little bit of a light push in the front. Not bad. Save that. We'll watch it. How long are we going here? 46 minutes. Man, 2 hours on this shot today. Alright. Let's hit the N key so we see actual size. Tab mode. So full screen mode. So this is what the audience would actually see. Is it perfect? No. Is it pretty good? Yeah. And Zen's going to face down our guy. Now, one question that does remain is, what about Akari's expression? Is she actually supposed to be maintaining the same expression throughout, or right about here? Should she be getting a little ornery? Let's go here and look at her keys. Okay, the question for me becomes, why do we have 4 keys here? Alright, we're going to have to get bold. Let's delete these keys and see what happens. And as I expected, it changed to nothing. Play? Okay. Boom. So what I'm thinking here is we'll take these filters and just take them off so we can stay focused on our characters. But what I'm thinking is, why don't we just give her a little bit more of a tude going into this shot? That's what I'm thinking. We'll take this out of erase mode. Well, it's a pretty subtle change. We can strengthen it a bit, like so. Boom. Boom. Okay. Alright, let's turn our filters back on. Here, that's our color adjustment. Where is there's our overlay. What I'm looking for, I probably didn't name my layers like I should have. I'm just trying to find the highlight. Where is the highlight? Ah, it's at the very top. I didn't go up high enough. Okay, so right here, I'm going copy that there. Kind of dangerous, since the only thing that actually changes is Akari's hairline. I'm going to go ahead and copy this one. So now it's the same, and then all we have to do is fix this right here. So, well, let's hit the S key and just delete that, and then that's all we needed. So, yeah, you don't want to do it the hard way when you can do it the easy way. Okay. Now, obviously, I botched it. And I need to be a little more careful here to match what's coming in the next frame. Okay, so that's better. Okay, I think we're good. Let's render it. File. And we want, oh, by the way, save early, save often, right? File, save, or render animation. We're going to render this into, yep, the conversions folder, 136. And that's that. Go. This one will probably be a little pokier than some, because there's a lot of filters, blurring. These things are sort of computationally expensive, so should tend to make the render a little slower than normal. Now what I'm going to do is jump to Free Commander here, and we want to go into the Render Conversions folder. And as you can see, what's happening is Krita is rendering all the individual frames, and then it's going to use FFmpeg to turn all these frames that you can now see turning into thumbnails. It's going to turn those into an MPEG-4 video, and then what I'm going to do is run this batch file that's going to turn it into a MJPEG, which coming from Krita is a little friendlier with Blender editing. The editing actually does fine with MP4 files, but for some reason, even though everything I use to create MP4 files is done with FFmpeg, for some reason the FFmpeg coming from Krita, something about the metadata or something makes it so that you cannot see the thumbnail. As you can see right here, no thumbnail. But if I convert it into an MJPEG, which takes no time at all, boom, now I get my thumbnail. So then I drag this into my render folder, because that's where I keep my master shots. And down here at the bottom, we're going to grab this, and we're going to drag it into Blender. And go like so. Alright, and let's just see how it plays. And hopefully we won't be disappointed. Sorry about that. Not bad, folks. Not bad. Let's just go back a little bit, kind of see what we've got. Zen. Yeah, and so the next thing coming up is, this is kind of the old version when his clothes were different, but the next thing that's coming up is going to be, we may actually be jumping back to OpenTunes, because frankly, I'm pretty sure, I'm going to put my start marker here and save this. I'm pretty sure, actually, that a lot of this stuff is quite usable. Now, here we have a problem because Zen's clothes are wrong. So yeah, there's definitely a good bit that's going to have to be redone. But all in all, we'll see. Are we going to be jumping back to Krita for everything? Not sure. But I will say that 2 hours well spent. I feel quite satisfied that this shot came out pretty well. So with that, I am done. And as you know, there will definitely be more later.